Okay, call the meeting to order. If you would, we'll start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which is one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I would like to declare Larry necessarily absent, and a few ground rules and announcements that need to be made. Emergency exits, as you'll notice, are off to the right and left. The restrooms are off into the lobby. If you haven't done so already, please sign the attendance sheet at the back of the meeting room. There's also some business cards back there next to the sign-in sheet with the email and phone numbers of the planning department. There are also proposed resolutions on the back table. If you haven't done so already, please either silence or turn off your cell phones. If there are any conversations that don't directly relate to the application that's being heard, please take it out into the hallway so as not to disturb the process. And once we get going with the application, the presentation, Amber over here takes our minutes, and it would be very helpful that we don't talk over each other. So we'll wait for you, you wait for us. If there are exhibits that you want to refer to, please let us know and we'll get them up on the screen. If they're new, let us know that they're new. We'll certainly take a look at anything, but we will mark them accordingly. Hopefully up at the podium there is a pointer and you may use it. It would be helpful if you use phrases like north, south, east, west, the structure. Instead of saying things like, if you notice over here and over there, when we review the minutes, it's difficult to interpret that. As good as Amber is, when we look at the minutes, it's easier on us and everyone else using descriptive things like structures and compass directions. Take your time. We're here for as long as you need. With that, we'll get going with approval of the minutes, March 3rd, 2024. I would entertain a motion for approval unless there's questions.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Matt.
Second.
Leah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Standing. Carried. All right, the Stewart application is an interpretation for whether the business operations fit within the light industrial district regs.
Evening. My name is Paul Shanahan. I represent Mr. Stewart and his business. I believe it does fit within the light industrial district that the property is located in. One of the permitted uses would be under A6, an office building. This is his office for the tree removal business. That's a fairly accurate picture. It's as you can see from the pictures I provided, and I actually took pictures last night. He has cleaned up the site to a very, very great extent, and the trucks are in order, and you can they're barely visible from the street. So an office building would fit within light industrial. The second permitted use would probably be A2, a service industry of the type that provides service to other industries rather than the needs of retail consumers. He doesn't meet retail consumers. He doesn't sell things to retail consumers. He primarily works for commercial other property owners. He works for builders removing trees, and he also works for insurance companies when there's an insurance claim that he removes the trees from the homeowner sites. Finally, there's sort of the catch-all phrase. I mean, I'm sure everybody on the board knows the town code much better than I do. A use character, use of a similar character, the permitted use is listed in subsection A. And specifically, I took pictures of many of the different businesses in the area. You'll see there's, the Tamby group has trucks, large office building where they have their office on the next street over. There's an office building right next door to, this used to be the Food at Fisher's Restaurant, for any of you, been in town for a while. They had a restaurant there, the family, for a long time. And then Stewart, who was one of the owners of the business, he was the cook, went into the tree business about 6 or 7 years ago. And this has been the site of his tree business. And as I said, he's done a substantial amount of work to bring the site up to compliance, and with the good help of the town inspector, we've done a lot of work to clean up the site. If there's any questions from the board, I think I'll rest on my submission otherwise.
Matt, you have questions?
How many people do you expect would be working on site, working in the offices at any one time?
At the most, it's really, they come in the morning and Mr. Stewart goes in and gets the sheet as to what jobs they have. They really meet outside primarily. They don't even really go into the building.
Is there
that
like an
often.
office admin that?
Office admin, exactly.
Pretty much full-time?
Yes, sir.
So it's not really just a place to store his equipment?
Correct. He does use it partially for the administrative of the business, yes.
Okay, so there is what we would call a full-time employee there.
He sort of runs the business, so there's employees here, they're full-time, they go and they have.
No, I mean like an office admin, like someone who's not cutting trees down, like someone who's answering phones or taking care of bills, or is it pretty much him?
It's pretty much him, but he has a part-time person. He also has a call center that some of the calls are handled by, you call in and they handle multiple different businesses and get the phone number and then call him.
Okay. I mean, I do agree, right? It's not a retail section. It doesn't, it's not called out specifically within the code, but I'll wait to hear from the other board members, but I generally think it, meets the criteria to being similar to some of the other uses. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't really just a location to store excess equipment and was going to ultimately just be a bit of an eyesore versus an operational office, right?
It is now an operational office. Yeah, there was an issue with a few of the trucks, but those have all been taken care of and sold and moved, and they're gone.
And they've cleaned, I haven't been by it recently, but I thought this weekend when I drove by it, it still had the signage up.
It still has, yes, it still has the sign, Food at Fisher Station, and,
So is that going to be brought into compliance?
Well, he can change the sign or take it down. I mean, it's, I just don't, I think that, he's never really gotten around to it because the customers don't come there. They'll
Why the
call.
sign?
What?
So I have the sign.
Oh, if you want it taken down, I can have him take the sign down. I mean, maybe it's just,
They need to be done.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the comments from the code enforcement officer.
Yeah, so the sign's no longer compliant, so it needs to come
okay?
down.
You want him to take it down? I'll get him to take it down, for sure. Anything else that you wanted him to do to bring it into compliance?
So, I mean, it has to go before the planning board for site plan approval, and so everything that's not in compliance will be reviewed at that time, if anything.
Okay. And I don't know whether, I have the pictures from last night that I took that show, how it's been fully cleaned up. If you want to make that part of the record, I can.
We can.
submit.
Thanks. Let's see, do you care which one is which?
No, I
All
don't
right.
care whatever number.
So
you want.
the one showing the building that you just gave me with what looks like some kind of chipper or things that clean up the brush.
Correct.
Right?
Yes,
We'll
sir.
mark that as, or break my pencil. We'll mark that as Exhibit 1 and date it, today's the 7th. And the one with the 3 white trucks, we'll label that as Exhibit 2 with today's date.
And Exhibit 2 shows how all the trucks have been removed except the ones that are used in the business. Everything's been cleaned up. As you can see there was some debris, so I wanted to show that.
Questions?
Okay. Leah, questions?
Okay, and that was one of my questions, and I'll look at the pictures, because it looked a little messy, a lot of trucks, but you said you
Yeah, you
did
don't have to
clean them up.
sugarcoat it. It didn't look too good when I first got retained for the case, I understand, and I did understand the town's concern that was communicated to me, and as the secretary, I think it's Amber, in communication with her, and that was communicated to me as well.
Yeah,
And you can see he did a lot of work to clean the site up. If you did go by there 4 or 5 months ago, it did take him some time, but he did get it done.
yeah, yes, I see on these pictures. Do you have any plans in the future to maybe add anything there, or you're just going to keep trucks? Is there other equipment that you maybe need to keep inside or in some type of a garage structure? Or is any other, like, smaller equipment, is that kept in the building?
That's all the equipment he uses in his business,
Okay.
and he doesn't plan to expand any more than
No,
what he
okay.
has there. Now that, as I said, there was a couple of pieces of equipment that weren't in use that sit there, and they were kind of, I'll just say right out, they were kind of an eyesore, and so that was, those were towed to the junkyard, or they were sold. Actually, one he didn't own. That was the problem with getting it done in time. That's why I had to take a little bit of time to get this done, because he actually didn't own the one truck that was being stored there, and eventually the person agreed just to have it towed away rather than, sitting there looking terrible.
Okay, and, if there's anything. Okay, that's all I have.
All right, so I think you would agree there, our prime function here is an interpretation. It's really not so much what the premises looks like, because Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, that's really going to come under the purview of the planning department on what does it look like out there. What we're trying to figure out on
Is the use, proper use, rather than the.
right, where does it
maintenance.
fit in the current code? So you pointed out a couple of sections in the permitted use, and you pointed to A, subsection 2, service industries that provide service to other industries.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time with that. Isn't this a tree service serving residential requests or maybe even commercial requests that the work isn't done on site, they're going out? Service work? Or am I missing something here?
Oh, you're right, they go on, they do tree service work, but it provides service to other industries. In other words, it provides it to builders, not to the needs of retail consumers. I thought that if you look at that, that was more service industries that provide service to retail consumers. Obviously, retail consumers here would be somebody who comes to the premises and buys something.
Oh, yeah,
I
right,
thought
I
if
agree
it-
with that. We had a similar, I think, situation where the company had an admin office on site, but most of their work was off-site. Very few, if any, retailers would come in, and they had their vehicles overnight stored, but then during the day, they would go off and they would serve, whether it be residential or commercial type businesses. And our analysis was it really didn't quite fit into the those permitted, even though it had an office, right? That isn't really what their business was office work, much maybe like a lawyer, a doctor, a dentist. It was an admin element to it, but their prime piece of it was off-site. And that's kind of what I feel, it seems like that's what this business is. Let me finish. On the other end of it, on the prohibited use, that type of business really didn't look like it was prohibited. So my understanding is when you have legitimate legal businesses that they have to go someplace in the town. You can't say no. They can't go anywhere in the town. So you have to find a place for them. And our analysis on the other business was, well, light industrial seemed to fit best in, I'm going to say that right, that business was best suited in the light industrial area. So what we did was to say, well, it doesn't look like there's anything prohibited. It really quite didn't fit into the permitted. So finding that subsection B subsection 5, well, it's not specifically listed, you would need a special permit from the planning department making your application, and that was our interpretation of what that type of business is. And I find a lot of similarities to their business and your client's business.
But there's a lot of similarities to my client's business and the other businesses that are within the area. If you look at the pictures of the different businesses in the area, they're very similar. They have, the electrical business that,
I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Right, I'm not saying that it's precluded,
okay,
that our prior findings on the other business was that a special permit was required, primarily because it seemed more suited to fit in the light industrial, therefore the special permit was required, as opposed to finding something, it's like, no, it fits right into the permitted uses.
okay. And again, the office building would be the one that I'm trying to get it into, because that seems to be one that you could interpret it to be an office building. It's the office where he has no other location for his business. This is where his business is located.
And I can't speak for the rest of the board. When I look at office building, in my mind, it appears more like that's what they do on-site. They serve clients, doctors, lawyers, dentists, pharmacists, customers. I get it, that really, that come in.
Though, is a lot of the permitted uses aren't designed for retail office, right? So you're not necessarily trying to, it's really like back-end office. That's how I was looking at it, because if it's retail, really isn't what's desired in that area, right?
I don't know of any business that operates in a light industrial district doesn't have an office. Some type of admin office on site.
Right.
If that were the case, and that would include the industrial area or other areas that don't fit in to the light industrial area.
But A6 would be is office building. Isn't that the definition that we just had them fit into? Is the back operations of the business. It's an office space for that, for the administrative work.
So then if you look at, in the permitted uses, service of industry type, other than retail customers. So a retail company, a retail
Other than retail.
store, right, let me finish though. A retail store has an office. So that contradicts each other. I think, again, my mind, office buildings speak specifically to that's what they primarily do, is the in-office work, not just the admin piece of it.
Well, what if let's take, and again, I don't know what zone they're in, but you go on 96 and you have Amica's Insurance Building. That's their administrative building. They don't necessarily have customers go in there. That's where they have claims, they have claims agents. That would be their office building.
That would be a prime office building.
Mm-hmm.
Ambi Electric would be similar. Right? They don't have clients going to their site, right? They've got a fleet, and they have
Right. What I'm wrestling with is whether it needs a special permit.
right.
Because it really doesn't fit into any one of these categories, especially it doesn't fit into a prohibited use. Or does it fit right into one or more of these categories, and you don't need a special permit? It fits, the interpretation is, you don't need to go to at least the planning board for a special permit.
Right.
That's the piece I'm wrestling with right now.
So we'd fall into like B5, right?
Right, and-
Uses of a similar character to the permitted uses, but not specifically listed to herein under
Right, so
So-
then B,
special use permit, B5 would be where he'd,
right, where the planning board may issue a special permit.
yeah.
Right.
And right now, that's where I'm leaning to. But if there are other questions then from,
And obviously, from my client's point of view and mine, we'd like just to fit
Oh,
it
sure,
into
it's
the
an easier
office building.
path.
I mean, yeah.
right, no, I understand. Matt, what do you think on where does this fit? You think a special use permit needs to be considered by the planning board, or it fits into permitted uses?
It's an interesting one, because it really comes down to what we think the definition of an office building is, right?
Does it require customers to go on site?
second.
And an office building doesn't
Hold on a second.
necessarily
Hold on a
require
second.
them.
You know, is an office building literally is it okay being the back end and front end, I guess, of the business, right? So it's a building, it's got an office in it that someone's gonna be taking calls, someone's gonna be in there doing tax returns, paying bills, office admin type work. It's not something that's open to the public, which I don't think it needs to be. I generally try to lean more towards, the applicant if two things seem somewhat equal. But I think I'm okay with either one, but to me, office building is what he's got.
Office building in the code?
Yes. An office building. Building comprised of offices as the primary use, compared with home occupations where an office is considered as a secondary or incidental use. So that was gonna be my comment. The office portion of this business is secondary. The primary use of the business is tree service, right? Which is not conducted in an office. You have to go on site to take down a tree. That's the primary
Would you call
use.
you wouldn't call Tambi, you wouldn't call that an office building?
No. They have offices, but an office building would be, like up to 51, CD, no, not CD, yeah, that's a car place. It's a big brick building.
LSI?
Well, that's more like
It's-
research
yeah.
industry, but further up than that, there's just big office offices that's how that business functions. Even like an insurance office. If it was an insurance building and there were 50 offices in there, that would be an office building. That's the primary use is for that insurance company to operate. They use offices.
But isn't the primary purpose of an insurance company is to adjust the claims? You're saying that the primary.
But they do
purpose-
that from within the office. You can't cut down a tree from within the office. That's just my opinion, as how I would see it in the code office. The company is called Stewart Tree Service. They're not cutting any trees down from within that office. You can make an insurance claim from an office, and you can process an insurance claim from an office. That would be how the code is trying to separate those
I mean,
uses.
to your point,
Tambi Electric.
otherwise, every other business listed here would be an office building.
Everyone. Tambi Electric isn't installing electric only in their office.
Do they
You
have a
see, but
special, do they have a special use permit?
That may be pre-existing. I would have to get back to you on that.
So it could be a pre-existing non-conforming use?
It could be, but I don't have that information right now to answer your question.
Because, that's what I saw, that these other buildings had, that they had a series of trucks, that they certainly, for example, let's see, Tambi, it's the easiest one. You can see there's a series of trucks that they have, or vans. They're obviously not, doing the electrical work on site. And
I
then,
I would submit then to you that Tambi is a different business than your clients.
it's an electric business, it's a service business, yeah. Same thing, electrical service, tree service.
What we're asked to do is get our arms around what type of business your client has and how does it fit into the code. I understand that Tambi has vehicles on site, but without really knowing, do they have a special permit? Do they fit into one of these categories? We can look at it, and you'd have to come back to the next meeting and say, this is what Tambi is. Could it be a factor in determining where if it's comparable, if we contrast it, how does it fit into the code? I think we can do that. It may also be helpful, since there's some debate going on. We're down a board member, and for the interpretation to go, is, I understand that your client would like, is not to need a special use permit, but rather fit into a permitted use. You need all 3 votes,
Okay,
right? Because we're a board of 5. We're 3 right now. I anticipate our next meeting, we'll have our 4th. So it could go then 3-1 if the board determines that the use fits into a permitted use. If one board member says no and the other 2 say yes, that's not going to do your client much good today,
okay.
right?
So do you think it's better in interest to adjourn it till the next meeting or the meeting
Well,
where
if-
there's 4?
If I hear you correctly, if you think Tambi's business and how they're operated, if you want to know whether they had a special use permit, if it's pre-existing, non-conforming use, we certainly
Or
can do
whether
that.
they just straight up were in the light industrial. Again, I don't have any history here, you know.
I don't. Sometimes history's important. I'll agree with you on that. If you'd like to, we can take a look at it, and then the board members can evaluate whether or not that makes a difference, if it's relevant, if they have enough information with or without it. We can do that. I imagine your client wants to get this resolved as efficiently as possible.
Yes,
But I would also anticipate they would like an answer that they can keep operating that business where it currently is.
of course.
And your counsel, we can't give you or your client legal advice. That's on you.
I wouldn't expect, yeah, of course,
Right.
I wouldn't expect you to.
So after his definition and then hearing what you were saying, especially early on, where it was more of a place for everybody to gather, do some administrative work, and then scatter, go do tree stuff, right? There isn't a full-time person there. He's got a service that answers the calls. It's used as an office, but not as a primary use. So I'm definitely leaning more towards the, permitted, but requiring a permitted use, allowed but permitted use under B5. After the
Leah,
definition.
what do you think, where this lands currently?
Well, one of my questions was the same thing. What type of permit does Tambi have? What category does that fit under? My other question is, if he had to get a special use permit, what does that entail?
Well, that's going to be, can't speak for the planning board, but they would review it and determine whether or not the type of business, as well as what's to be stored on, what kind of operations are they going to do on-site? Is it primarily off-site, which I think this business is, but that's their due diligence, their review, their debate, the whole gamut of it.
And you're aware that if they determine whether it's permitted or if it needs a special use permit, Mr. Stewart has to go before the planning board for site plan approval regardless. And if you do require the special use permit, that can be done in conjunction with your site plan. So it doesn't have to be, they're separate applications, but they can be reviewed together. You don't have to do one and then do the other.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
So, go ahead.
I was just say, I don't see any controversy with the use, right? You've got a building, you're gonna use it as an office, you're gonna use as fleet storage, like what's allowed in A5 and in other circumstances. As a permitted use, you're not doing anything on site, you're not doing anything that's within the prohibited uses. It's not a retail establishment, entertainment, residential, it's not an airport or a hotel, right? So, not slaughtering any animals or fish?
No, I don't believe so.
So I don't want you to walk away thinking, at least from my perspective, that it's not, although it's not explicitly called out as a permitted use, it doesn't come across as anything that's any red flags or anything like that associated with it. Your client has a fleet of vehicles, he needs a store, he needs a building for an office, like many of the other permitted uses, but it's just not specifically called out. So therefore, we have a catch-all in the code for things like that. And
So I have to make an application to the planning board before the approval is here?
You can make an application for site plan approval if you want to start that process. That has to happen anyway because the use of the parcel is changed from a restaurant to a service
Right.
company, and the code requires a new site plan. What you wouldn't know until they make their decision is whether or not it's considered a permitted use and you don't need the special permit, or if the zoning board determines that it's similar in character and you can do it so long as you get a special use permit. That application would contain a special use permit.
Of course, I'd like to know in advance whether or not the board thinks it has to fit within the accepted use, the
True,
non-permitted use.
right, no, understood.
Yeah.
So your choice, I guess, here today is, I understand the board into the permitted uses. It doesn't fit into the prohibited uses. What I think that we're most comfortable with is Part B, and it would come under subsection 5. It's not specifically listed, but based on our interpretation, we would refer it to the planning board for their review on a special use permit.
as a use of similar character.
Okay.
Right.
And then it would be a use of similar character that if the planning board found that, then the zoning board would have no problem of it because, but not specifically, upon application for the interpretation approval by the zoning board as a similar use character.
Right, so I would
I mean, do you decide
just to
it's
say,
a similar
any
use
board
character now?
would be interested, it's like if you say, look, Tambi does this, and they're in light industrial, and look at all the other type of businesses that are doing similar things. It really belongs, your client's business belongs in the light industrial. It's not prohibited, so grant us the special use permit.
I don't think there's any further action from our board after.
No, not after the,
Determination.
not after the interpretation, no.
Okay, so you.
Outside of the sign,
sign,
the
yeah.
sign's gotta be,
The sign's got to be down, okay.
right.
Because it does say the and approval by the zoning board of appeals as a similar character use. That's what it says under B5.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing right now.
Tonight, okay,
Today,
fine.
if it's
So then
okay
that's-
with you, we would
Yeah.
vote for this business to fall under B5.
So then set in motion, getting the site plan and getting the town.
Yep, special use
planning-
permit and site plan in conjunction with each other. So, the planning board, if the zoning board made the determination that it's similar in use,
Okay,
okay, they're saying, okay, it's not quite listed, but it belongs in the light industrial district. They're doing that for you tonight. So the planning board, it's the nuance there is that the special use permit's required because it's not technically a permitted use,
okay.
okay?
I mean, if we said it fell under prohibited uses, there'd be an issue.
Right, it'd be over, okay.
So if you want it, and hopefully we're on the same page, if you want it to be in the permitted use, we can vote on it today, but you may not like the answer that you get. I think you're probably going to like the answer you get under the special use permit, because we're finding that that business best fits in the light industrial district.
Similar character.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I think that's the path then we'll have to go.
Okay.
So we'll.
Anyone from the public want to speak for or against? Suzie? Nothing? Okay, good.
Thank you so much, thank you.
Hold on. We have to, unless you want to, we have to fill this in a little bit, but you can go if you like. I would stay if I were you.
All right, well,
Okay, so, I have a resolution in front of me with the code. Okay, so the proposed motion is going to be that the board has determined that a special use permit under subsection B, subsection 5, that it's a similar use and character permitted in section A, but not specifically listed therein. I would entertain a motion for approval.
A motion to approve?
A second.
Second.
Thank you, Leah. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Have a
everybody.
good night. You're welcome.
Appreciate it, thank you.
This town. I'm sitting there, I've got my phone, might as well look it up for him.
Right. All right, this is 552 Championship Drive. Last we were here, we were going to take a site walk with, how did that go?
Yes, sir. Adam went on a site walk, and I can leave it to him to give you his findings. Obviously, he's not in charge of designing for us, and I want to, I guess, exonerate him for, we're not going to rely on his engineering expertise, or at least use our own engineers if we need them. But I think he did tour the site and has some things to tell you.
Yes, so, taking a drive through the site, if you notice in the exhibit up there, to the east side or the right side, you can kind of see a little overflow parking area that's right on the property line in between, so almost directly right
Yeah.
of the shed itself.
Up here?
No,
Nope, go
There.
right, go to the shed, and then go straight right.
across the street, you
See
mean?
that area?
Oh, okay.
So there's multiple overflow parking areas like that throughout that section of the development. And I offered to Mr. Nadler to consider 3 areas like that, which were more level ground suitable to possibly place the shed just onto the grass behind one of those spots.
May I stop you just 1 second, because we were doing the here and there thing.
Yep.
What you were pointing to was the parking area between
545.
545 and 547, correct?
Yeah,
That's correct.
I can't read that from here.
Okay,
so
that's all right.
That's just an example, that's not necessarily the location I offered for consideration. It would still require variance to be forward of the front line of whichever parcel he decided. It's just different than the current location. And then the tricky part about that is chances are it's going to sit right on a property line, which would require,
Bunch of variants.
right. But beyond that, I did not see any other locations that would comply with the code without some need of some sort of variance.
Now, you and I, Adam, talked about, but we didn't really conclude, to the east of 554, Unit 554, there's a similar parking pad. Would that require a variance?
So-
Because that's in a side yard technically?
Yeah, because it's like a corner lot, it would still be considered forward of the front line.
Okay.
Yes. You can almost see it in that image there.
It'd be where that car is actually, essentially. The car located to the east of Unit 554.
There's a lot of grading challenges, and there's stormwater swales basically in between and behind all of those buildings, so.
So as far as finding a location for the shed to be code compliant, fair to say it's not looking good.
Good.
Okay. Thank you for your help with that. All right. Anything you want to add before the board asks you some questions or?
Well, I would submit, we rent these for quite a lot of money. And so, the property managers picked one that they felt blended in. We put it off the public road on our private road that we maintain and is really only used by the dozen or so tenants right there. And, we feel that it blends in as best as possible with the architecture and the location. It's only seen by our tenants. That's about it. Happy to answer any other questions.
Pat, you got questions?
I think I'm all set. I mean, Adam did exactly what we needed him to do, right, is go and check some of those other areas to see if there was something that had, less code impact. Seems like where it is probably the best balance between kind of the needs of, their storage needs in a convenient location and lack thereof a code compliant place to store it. It's not like behind a house.
Okay, Leah?
I just want to step back again to what we talked about at the last meeting. So you have, clarify, you have somebody that you employ who does the snow removal or lawn maintenance, and it's the, it's either the salt or maybe a few tools that you would store in this shed. Is he an employee of your office, or is it he, like a gardener, like AB Landscaping?
It can be either. This past winter, we contracted out all of the snow removal and ice melt contractual duties. Part of our contract with the company was that we would provide the salt on site, and I asked about it after I left here last month. I asked one of the owners, and he said, they're in the night and get dropped off, and a personal vehicle drops them off. So they're on our site in the middle of a snowstorm, anticipating really to be there all day, so they need the ice. Same happens when it's an employee of ours.
So the company, so let's say this is somebody you contract.
Yeah.
Like AB Landscape. So they drop their employees off to do just clarify, because I
No,
think I
like,
missed something.
Their girlfriend drops them off, or their parents drop them off, the employee off.
The employee to do the work.
Yes.
So they don't, so they're not doing like the snow removal, the driveways, and then they
Oh.
do the sidewalks?
Gotcha.
What is it they're doing?
So what we did at this property this past year, we hired a company, and they were in charge of everything. That included their employees in trucks that plowed our
Wow.
driveways, plowed that private
Right.
road. And that included guys who these guys, my company employs a lot of them for other properties, and we have used them at this property. It's an unbelievable human resources feat to get 50, 100 guys to show up throughout the town to spend a day in the middle. They show up at 3:00 in the morning. They get paid pretty much minimum wage, and they just stay there all day to shovel and salt and make sure our tenants don't slip and fall and are safe on our site. So I know it sounds weird. Usually people don't get just dropped off and left somewhere, but that's how these guys sometimes work. Or maybe they have a private personal vehicle, they drive there and park in one of our spaces.
So the company's not providing them a shovel or a snow blower? I don't know if that's what they.
Oh,
I'm
the
now not
company- yeah.
talking about the roadways, because that has to be done by a truck. Because
yeah.
I'm talking, what you're keeping in the shed, I understand, it's like salt and maybe then shovels?
It's shovels and snow blower, but the main thing is salt.
Okay.
The sheer volume of salt that each property goes through is astronomical. So, I mean, these people don't have any other way to get the salt, a practical way to get the salt that they need to, sprinkle throughout our whole thing. The snow blower too, to a lesser extent.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't know who owns the snow blower.
Yeah, so the company's not providing the salt? You made the arrangement with them?
Oh,
that
no,
you-
sorry, the company we contract with does provide the salt. We're giving them a place to store it.
So this shed really is just to provide the company convenience so they can store it, before they
It's not so much a
use it?
convenience as a necessity. There's no other place to put it on site.
Well, why should they put it on site in advance? I mean, if I have somebody do my driveway and my walkway, they
Yeah.
bring their own salt. They don't tell me, keep it for me and, put in your garage. If I'm not if it's not my salt.
Well, so I think it's different on commercial properties, but we also, some years, we do the salt ourselves, at which point we would have no other place to put it. Since, well, actually, right before I was here the last time, we've leased Champion Hills Golf Club to a tenant. We don't control that building anymore. It's exciting. They've got a great restaurant and bar, and you should go check. It's open to the public. But, so that, we don't have another place to put salt. This past winter, it was a contractor. Frequently, it's our own employees doing it, so that's why we need it. Or as an accommodation to the contractor, we could make them bring salt, I guess, but it just seems like it could be problematic.
So you also mentioned what may be stored in that shed could be a snow blower?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so who owns it? You or the contractor?
To be honest, I don't know. I know my company owns a lot of snow blowers. It's probably ours, and and the contractor used it this winter, but honestly, I don't know that. It might be a couple snow blowers in that particular shed. Usually a property like this will have a few snow blowers, and whoever's removing the ice uses them. It's possible, I just don't want to,
Right.
I don't want to lie. I just don't know. Either the contractor put their snow blowers there, or we had snow blowers from last winter and they'd used them.
Because it would be hard for me to believe that a contractor would use somebody else's snow blower, because they don't know what conditions it's in, it's a liability issue.
I'm a
Yes,
lawyer. I don't
some-
disagree.
You disagree?
No, I said I don't disagree.
Oh, you don't disagree, yeah.
Yeah, so then they very well might have brought their own and put it there. I
Yeah.
just, honestly, I just don't know.
Yeah.
But for the years we use it ourselves, we would store our snow blower there,
Right.
or
If it's
a
yours.
few of our snow
It
blowers.
sounds like some years you're contracting bodies. People show up,
Yes,
and if I'm up
Yes.
once or twice, that I've actually been up early enough to catch them, because they do a good job with the salt. It's a few guys with a wheelbarrow, not a wheelbarrow, a wagon, and salt. So they have to go from one end, fill it up with salt, and they go through all the houses and back and fill it up and kind of do it again. So I can understand the logistics issue. It's not necessarily put it all in one truck and then just keep it there when you're
Yeah.
done kind of thing. There's probably, I don't know, 100 sidewalk, 100 pathways
at least,
that
yeah.
they
Yeah.
have to do. So it's quite a bit of back and forth, and so it's a lot of, I mean, it's a lot of salt. I guess it's a logistics.
It's a lot of
challenge
salt,
that
and
they're
it's
trying to
not,
do.
you don't know how much salt that any given day. When it's the contractor, us too, the snowplows go through at 1,000 miles an hour, and they're not stopping to drop salt off. They're,
No.
you've seen snowplows, they're flying.
No, understood. And it seems also from what Matt's saying, the way they go, it's probably easier for you to have a shed either at one end or another.
Yeah.
Rather than like in the middle of the development, just for the.
Now that he said that, yeah, I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And the owner actually said that. I after I talked to Adam, I said, there's some down here. He said, no, I want it at the end, at the top end. I don't know why the top, not the bottom, but,
Then you gotta walk downhill with it.
Right, all set?
down
Yeah.
there.
I'd rather not dwell what's in it, but where it is. So,
Yes.
looking at criteria, I'll just jump to the second. I think you've hit it, that the benefits sought cannot be achieved by some other feasible method. Okay, we can check that box. When I look at the first piece of criteria, an undesirable change would or would not be producing the character of the neighborhood. I understand it, you own all those lots. My hesitation on just almost ignoring what you're saying to me, that you own all the lots, is those sheds are gonna pop up like popcorn all over the place. Because you got one, now you got two, now you got 10, and you need.
You mean on our lots?
Right.
Condition it.
All right,
It-
well, let me hold that
sorry.
thought a sec. Let me back up. How many units are out there?
72.
All right. I live in a development, and there's a large number of townhomes there, and I believe in excess of 72, they don't have a shed. Do you have a garage there, anywhere on site?
No, I'll tell you the difference in, and I don't know your HO, or that HOA, how it
Silverton.
works. But most HOAs, townhouses with the homeowners association, where everybody owns their own unit,
Yeah.
the HOA contracts plowing, but you're responsible for your own sidewalk from your driveway.
Right.
That's
Some-
accurate.
Okay.
So that's why, that's the answer to that question,
So
but I
you
understand.
don't, you don't have a garage
We
on
don't have
site?
any garages on site, no.
You own the golf course?
No, we own it, we don't operate it anymore. We gave up control with a lease as of January
So
something.
you don't own it anymore. All right, so you
They don't operate it.
You don't own a garage, so that shed is the only shed where you store your necessary items that you need for salt or your miscellaneous stuff
Yeah.
that it's going to be difficult to go on and off,
Yes.
on-off site.
And as the property ages, right now it's pretty much pristine. We have a maintenance tech that operates at the property, an employee of ours. 10 years from now, we'll need one shed only.
You would be comfortable then, should this board grant the variance as a condition, one and only shed? Because it is,
Absolutely.
as I'm looking at it, maybe not, it would change the character of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
However, if that were just the one, I could see, all right, just the one, due to necessity, would not necessarily change the character of the neighborhood.
I can commit to that. We'd prefer 0 sheds, but
Right, looking then to number 3, is a substantial. When you're looking at 57 plus or minus feet in front of, forward of, that to me is substantial. Is it going to have any adverse effect or impact on the physical environmental conditions? Probably not. Is it self-created? Yeah, you put it there. So I think you can see, especially as an attorney, we have a balancing analysis that we need to do when we fit all these criteria. Does one hold more weight over another? Not necessarily. It's how the board interprets it. But hopefully you can see, it's a close call here on where do we give the most weight on this particular variance.
understood. And, I represent the town of Canandaigua zoning board. So I sit on your side as well. I understand these aren't easy decisions.
Okay?
From the substantial question, I agree, 57 feet, and we are 57 feet in front of that line, but the distance, you got to consider, it's not a front yard. It's a front yard and then the road, and then from an appearance standpoint, how it appears, and then a common area. So can you look at that substantial question differently? Maybe. It's 51 feet off of the public road. Is that, it's 57 feet in front of the house, but 51 feet off the public road, Championship Drive.
Not a dedicated road, is it?
My road is not dedicated,
Okay.
correct. It's
So it's-
our private.
The then I think maybe you could or couldn't. It's still an argument can be made, then it's still 57 feet forward, even though there is a right-of-way
Yeah,
that goes, and it's paved.
yeah,
I think an argument, a stronger argument could be made that it's substantial than it's not. That would be my look at it. I don't know quite what the rest of the board is. But we got to fit these, the factors in, the justifications in all these criteria. So, do you have any other comments before I touch base with the board on where they see this falling?
no, sir.
Okay, Matt, what do you think on, I ran through it a little bit. You have thoughts, comments on where we are and how it looks on the justifications?
I concur. I mean, it is technically substantial, self-created. I don't think obviously with the condition of it only being one of them, in the neighborhood, I don't think it would have an overall negative look or feel. It doesn't fit in, like, to a certain extent, but I don't think overall it's going to have some big detrimental impact to the neighborhood's appearance or certainly environmental characteristics. So I'm, like I said earlier, after the work we've done and due diligence we've done, I feel comfortable allowing it as proposed.
Okay. Leah, what do you think?
I don't think it's in a good location. I think it's an eyesore where it is, if it was maybe somewhere else. And what you proposed earlier, in a place like between, I think you said it was between.
To the east of 554.
545 and 547?
Well,
That
that's
was-
not gonna,
That's not,
No.
that's too ugly for us.
and it's
What
also
about
not
554,
level there.
to the east of
Hold on,
554?
one at a time. Let
Sorry.
Matt finish and then,
Sorry.
Adam, sorry.
The addresses that Leah's referring to, I was using as an example
Right.
as to the type of location that I offered to consider.
Right, so that, I know that one wasn't feasible, but something similar to that. I think that would be a better type of location somewhere else. I just think where it currently is, it stands out too much. I think if it was somewhere else, it would be better. You know,
Well, yeah, I think you got to tell them, I think you got to find the somewhere else, right? Because we've
Well-
had Adam crawl all over the
How
site.
about right here?
Yeah, well, this,
There you go.
I can't see. No, not there. Further up, what is that? 546 and 540, I can't read the
Right
number.
here?
Yes, a spot
No.
similar to that, I think, is better.
That's what this is, right here.
Yeah, but Adam
you want
said earlier, can't be there because that's a corner lot and that's
I said
considered.
it would still require a variance.
Yeah,
It would be.
No matter
a
where he
less
puts it's gonna require.
substantial- It would be a significantly less substantial variance.
I thought it would be straddling to,
Not in that one.
Not this one. This one's just in this house's side yard.
So
That
you're-
side yard is also a front yard because it fronts on
Right.
Championship Drive.
The one you're pointing to is east of 554.
That's correct.
yeah, so Mike, I just don't think where it currently is the most feasible location.
All right, so what we have here, unless we can get some kind of consensus, a similar problem with what we had the prior applicant.
Can I come back next month, please?
There we go. Because our other board member will be here, and I think you would have then some latitude. Okay, good. So we're going to table this for the next meeting. I don't think there's any more homework we have to do. I will certainly help out our board member that has missed the 2 meetings and get him up to speed.
Okay.
So that hopefully we can run through the board meeting as efficiently as we can, but not rush it, so he
Yeah.
may have more questions.
April 21st is our next meeting.
April 21st. There's a chance I'm not here. Sorry.
The meeting following that would be May 5th.
Can I do May 5th? I'm coming back from vacation on the 21st. 5 at 7. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it,
You're very welcome.
and I look forward to seeing you.
Sounds good, thanks.
Thanks.
Give us a few moments, and we'll be right with you. Okay. Sheriff?
Yes.
Did I pronounce it right?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All
Impressive.
right.
A lot of people don't get that.
You would like a garage forward of your home.
Yes, that's correct.
I see notes and some, your application, so if you'd like to start, go right ahead.
Sure. My name is Brendan Hariff. I'm here with my wife Lauren. We reside at 7600 North Road. We're seeking a couple variances to build a 980 square foot detached garage. That's forward to the front line of the house. And we're also seeking a 5-foot setback of the property line on the roadside. And because of that, mainly it's because of the topography of our property and the placement of the house within the property lines. We are very much built into a hill, so it makes it very difficult for us to just pick any kind of location on the couple acres that we do own. So realistically, there's only kind of one option for us, which is in front of our home on the lot. We did provide some photos as evidence, kind of that shows the incline of the property. And also just wanted to show that even though we are requesting to be a little bit more closer to the road, there wouldn't necessarily, hopefully, be a concern for a blind spot from the driveway standpoint, because of the fact that the house is on the outside of a bend within that road.
Back to you.
All set, okay. Matt, questions?
Let's see. Just taking a look at it, looks like it's more than a garage.
Sort of. I mean, yeah, we are looking to do sort of like a carport, so having an outdoor space. But the actual garage itself
It was,
is
like a bump out with a livable space inside.
No livable space.
no livable space, yeah.
It'll be a workshop in that back corner.
Yeah, so the main depth of the actual bay could fit basically a car and a half. And the idea is the back space of that garage area would just be workshop area. So we could park a car, also include equipment like lawnmower, et cetera, and then have a,
Under the awning part, like the open part?
Or in the garage.
or in the garage.
We want the
Yeah,
option of either.
Yeah,
But you're obviously gonna run power and
yes.
Yes.
water.
No water.
No water.
Just power. 5 feet seems awfully close to the road. Does that,
Yeah.
do we know if that's within a right of way or?
That's 5 feet from the right-of-way. It's not 5 feet to the pavement edge.
Okay, all right.
If you want to go back to the photos.
It's probably closer to 20 feet from the edge of the road.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
And the code calls for
40.
40. Is there any other place on site you could possibly put it?
No. If you want to flip to the following photos, we start let me get my directions straight. It's northeast is our driveway sloping up. And so that's the approximate house side wall of the garage right here. And as you can see, if that being the house side wall of the garage, there's our driveway going up and a steep hill. And then behind the garage, we have maybe 20 feet before it drops into a culvert. So we really are boxed in with location, unless we're doing some serious excavating.
And you do not have a garage today on the existing house?
Correct, we do not. We have a lean-to, which is just a woodshed.
I'm okay with questions for now.
Leah?
So you said you currently don't have a garage in your existing house, just, what was it, a workshop? you
Correct.
said?
No, just a lean-to that just stores firewood.
And because of the topography, even going, driving up and on the side, it's too steep to put this garage structure?
Yeah, the other.
I guess,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you're considering closer to the house, I failed to include maybe, well, I guess you can kind of see it in that top right photo, but I mean, it's all woods.
And just to the left of that, where the patio is, that's our septic system.
Oh, right up here,
Um,
yeah.
To the left.
Okay.
And there's no leach field, it's a dry well. So we don't have that concern with the yard space.
Okay. So in this new structure, as you said, just electricity you're going to put in?
Correct.
Is it, also with this structure, I see there are windows on top. Does it have a loft area as well?
No, it's strictly design decision and allowing light in,
Oh,
Absolutely.
okay,
Yep.
yeah.
okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Actually, I know you just said it, Adam. The setback that they're permitted. 40.
It's
They
40
need
feet.
40 feet?
Yep,
Right away?
from the right-of-way, yep.
That's where the proposed garage is 40 feet from the right-of-way?
Oh, the proposed garage is 5 feet, code requires 40, so they need two variances, one to reduce the front building setback, and the other to allow accessory structure forward to the front line of the principal building.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
With their drawings, the drawings are measuring from the center line?
Correct.
How long have you been there, on the house?
We bought in October 2023.
23, all right. Did you, or do you have a topo map? Topography map?
No, I don't.
No.
That's really going to show what you're telling us, that
Sure.
there's not many places to put that garage.
Understood.
I understand, I've driven by it, I have an idea. One of our tasks when we look at the criteria is whether or not there is a feasible place to put it. It may be, no, you can't put it in any other place, but part of that is if and when a board grants a variance is to give the minimal variance possible. So we have to explore, do our due diligence. I know you're asking for, you wanted 5 feet from the right-of-way, but we need to figure out, could it be 10, 15, 20? Without that topo map of really trying to figure out how much excavating, if any, you really need to do, as opposed to, it gets into some dicey arguments if an applicant says, it would look ugly there. Right? Ugly aesthetics really doesn't fit into the criteria. We need to look at those elements on where could you put it? And to Matt's point, 5 feet from the right-of-way, especially on that curve, I don't think you want anything bad happening. Vehicles come and go. Once in a while, they lose control. Hopefully, never on your property. But that structure could pose a problem. It's 10 feet off, 15 feet off. We're not suggesting, I think, that you can't have it.
Sure.
Where is there maybe a safer place or something that's less of an ask? So, with all that, does that make sense so far?
It does.
Absolutely.
Do you have, or do you know if one exists, a topography map?
I don't think so, because especially when we met with the architect, that was one of the questions they had too, because he came out during the winter, a couple feet of snow on the ground, couldn't really tell. So, yeah, I don't think that we have anything.
You've hired an architect?
Yes.
We already have design plans submitted, permit. is
Do you
in
know if they
process.
did any kind of surveying out there for, usually, just knowing, because my dad was an architect, and I had to carry that stick around way too many times, that they'll do that.
Yeah.
They'll do a survey on where are the elevations.
Yeah, he did not complete that. They just took the survey that we had at the time of closing.
Okay, so as far as you know, there's been no survey elevations,
Correct.
right? Okay. When were you thinking about starting your project?
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
We're about to have another baby, and to reclaim our basement for more storage for the home would be beneficial because tools taken over, so that was
Okay.
a push for me to try and get this thing built.
Understood, understood. Go ahead, Adam.
So if you were to go on, there's an Ontario County website, so if you Google Encore,
Okay.
and then a list, there's probably a business called Encore, but you want to, wherever it says Ontario County.
Yep.
And there's like a property mapper on there. So it'll kind of start like Google Earth. You zoom into your property, and you'll see your parcel.
Yep.
You can click on it, it gives you information, but if you go over to the layers, I think under base map, you should be able to click on 1-foot contours.
Okay.
Maybe you take the satellite imagery out for that purpose, but you can probably produce a relatively accurate, not perfectly accurate, topographic, layout of your
Yep.
parcel,
Okay.
if the zoning board wishes to see that.
Okay.
Yes, so I agree. Google Ontario County First, government, and in there, once you tap in there, there'll be an Encore, what do you want to do? Just type in ONCOR.
Okay.
Hit on that, and it's a great tool, and hopefully that should provide some information for you.
Okay.
Matt, what do you think about getting some kind of topo map or figuring out, do they need all of it? Can it be 10 feet off
I think it
right
would,
of way, 50?
10 or 15, and probably, even with the topo, depending on how accurate, that'll be. I do say the one picture is the one that has the text and looks like a picture of your son or daughter.
Son, yeah.
Approximate house side, wall of garage, and a red arrow. So I think you can kind of see, I think that one in the upper left of this picture here, we've got printed copies of it, so you can see the stakes. And so where your son's head is, it looks like it's about where the stake next to it is the stake for the other side of the garage door, right?
I'd have to get a little closer to see.
And so you can see it, I mean, yep.
Hold on. You got to come back to the mic, because we... Oh, sorry. It's okay. Take your time.
We do have 3 stakes for that front wall, that being the house side. One in the middle, that's just showing the separation of carport and actual bay for garage. And then I can't quite see it from here, but the wall side, that would be roadside.
So if I could point, there is, next to the house, there appears to be, maybe a cedar tree. You got a car, and then a decent-sized tree, but there looks to be a dirt, I don't quite say it's level, but it's, have you explored putting the garage there?
Yeah, it's a pretty steep incline hill that would require a ton of excavation.
You agree with that?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Honestly, the pictures don't really give the elevations justice on how steep some of the grades are out there.
Yeah.
It's hard to see from, just a picture. But if you were to go out there, like, even if you just look at the same image with their son and how tilted that pickup truck is, almost gives you a good idea
Right.
of how quickly the grade changes. And it's no better in that dirt area that you're referring to. If anything, it's probably slightly steeper.
That is correct. And when we first bought the house, we started to get some quotes just to prepare for it. And we did explore that option initially. But the numbers were way higher due to excavation costs, water, dealing with how to
Drainage.
Drainage, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's why we ended up going in the green space.
Yeah, which we would rather not, just because it's the only yard we have. for the
Okay,
kids, so.
let's explore then a different way to look at this. No time is money. You want to get this done. Hopefully you understand we need to do our due diligence here.
Sure.
If you could ask your architect if the garage was pushed off the road instead of 5 feet off the right-of-way, let's just pick a number, 10 feet. How much would that, if any, increase the cost of the build? And then 15 feet, just a couple of numbers, so the further it would go back, I think we'd understand then that the further you go back, the cost of the build is going to go up, excavation, those kinds of things.
Sure.
We don't need lots and lots of numbers, but I think if we had a few to look at, maybe the topo map, because I think Matt pulled it up, I'm looking at it, they may not really tell a true story as opposed to your architect saying, this is going to be exponentially expensive the further we go back onto the property. That makes sense?
Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
but Matt and Leah, what do you think about at least that
Yeah,
idea?
and you're saying it would be more expensive because they have to excavate because of the elevation?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It's
Foundational
not
work,
that you're
too.
further off, it's just that, because I think your point was before, if you tried to put it where that dirt path is over there where the tree is, because of the slope, and you'd have to excavate, and could you put it there? Yeah, but it's gonna cost a chunk of money.
Yeah.
That would help, I think, our criteria, that there's really no other place you can feasibly put that,
And
but for it costing
Yeah.
a lot of money.
And also you wanted to mention, if you have to go further, and he's getting those figures, if you have to cut down any trees,
Sure.
for it, just put that down.
Okay.
I mean, the other piece of it is, half of it is a workshop. There's another design or that either makes it smaller or makes it more of a loft area, but it looks like half of it's the workshop, right?
Sort of. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say the back right corner, if you're looking at the one that's listed as original design inspiration, like that's where we would expect, table saw, power tools, et cetera. But really, anything past the car would be things to take care of the property, like lawnmowers and
Wood splitter.
wood splitter, things like that, just to help maintain. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's half, but I get your point on that, as far as the
I was thinking
workshop
from a width perspective, from what's eating into the buffer, right?
piece. Sure,
You're looking at it head on, you
Yeah.
got the garage door on the left and the workshop on the right.
sure.
So that, I don't know, is it 10 feet
Yeah,
or so?
The width-wise, so the bay is 16 and the carport
It's
workshop is 12.
yeah.
Okay, so 12 feet of
Yes.
that is workshop, not.
Yes, yeah. I get you what you're saying, yeah.
When codes are written, and the purpose for how far do you have to be from the right-of-way or the sideline, especially on the how far do you have to be from the right-of-way, oftentimes it's a public safety kind of issue. And if everything is right on top of the road, I don't think anybody wants to see anybody get hurt.
Sure.
5 feet is close to the right-of-way, especially on a curve. So I think more so, we really need to explore that idea of, because you get it further off the right-of-way.
A good example, like what are the, what's the number in the car dealership corridor, what do they usually end up? Because they want to park their cars as close to the road as humanly possible, so they're always in here trying to get another foot.
I think the closest is 35 feet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's pretty far still, it's close, it's like
Yeah.
30 or 40 feet. We try to
Speed
keep-
limits there is 40?
I believe 40, yeah.
But that's down from 80,
Yeah,
where we'd be 40 to start with.
but this would
so-
be 5.
Right, down to 5, which is, I'm not disagreeing with the substantial
That's fine.
aspect of it, but I was just, if you're gonna compare them,
I'm just thinking of the closest we've allowed a structure to the,
The right-of-way?
to the right of way. Like, closest I can generally think of is the car dealerships, because they want to be right on it. Maybe there's some other instances That's what popped into my mind. 5 feet is pretty close. I mean,
There may be a residential development, don't quote me, that is a cluster subdivision where they reduce the front setback to either 30 or 35 for the houses. But beyond that, no.
and the house here is
Other-
probably close to 45.
I don't know that was on there.
It's actually on the instrument survey map.
You measure from the deck to the right-of-way, it's probably,
95.
95 minus whatever the right-of-way 33 is, right? So
Yeah.
it'd be 62 feet.
then the deck probably gets you another
Yeah, maybe a couple.
10, 8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're probably right at about 50, 50-something.
yeah.
There's the, well, let's see if there's the picture. The picture that's apparent is really the very first one. It's not labeled, but it's this one here at the bottom where you can see the stakes. It's easier to see on the printouts that we have. It just doesn't look very far from, I mean, it's close. I mean, when you put a structure there, I'm just worried it's gonna look, not how it looks, but it's gonna be closer than we think of it. Because we're usually dealing with like 20 or 30 feet away from the right of way, and we're arguing that that's too close.
Sure. Yeah, understood.
Sound like a plan?
Yeah, we can do that.
Well, let's get some numbers on what that looks like, and
Okay.
not trying to spend your money. It's,
Yeah,
Plus,
Well,
if you can
we-
push it back, you don't have to walk as far from there.
it's true.
And to, I guess, comment again on the carport side, the reason why we settled at 12 feet is from a parking standpoint of having your vehicle in there and being able to open doors. That was
Yeah.
the decided, 10 feet would be a little too narrow. We were talking with builders about that. What's standard for a carport? What's comfortable? So that's where we landed, that's to get the gist of, trying to make things more narrow.
yeah, you know, for
So a
now.
car doesn't go on the other side.
It can go in either.
Yeah,
Oh, it
either.
can't.
We have
Yes.
one car right now. We will probably have two eventually.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's to account for, we have covered space that we could work at or just hang out under or park a car.
I think you're eventually gonna have a teenager that's gonna have to put a car in there.
Don't rush it.
He's only 4, let's slow down.
Like, oh my God, there's no way my kids would deal with it.
Any other questions?
No, no.
Okay, good. Suzie, anyone? No, okay. All right. A little bit of homework. We'll see you,
So April 21st is the next meeting.
is that enough time?
Yeah, that's great. Yep.
Okay, good. Look forward to hearing from you. If there's questions, especially how to get on Encore, if you want to take a look at it, someone at the planning department or give us a call and we'll walk you through. It's pretty easy. It's not hard.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, good, good.
Thank you so
All
much for
right.
your time. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for your time. We will see you next meeting.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
No.
It does, but it's not very good. I compared the two. I pulled up Encore and Google.
So Encore is a
Google's-
separate website?
Yes,
County's website.
Oh,
For
okay.
like tax.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
All property
Right,
information.
owner's name, it's a wealth of information. It's a good site.
I was always
You want to know if your
wondering
neighbors have
about
paid their
the-
taxes? You go right there.
Go on Encore.
The ONCOR?
Yeah, it's Ontario County
Ah.
Resource.
Yeah, because I was always wondering, I always like to look at topos and I can never really find it.
All right, any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
All right, thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Have a good night.
too.
Enjoy the basketball game.
No, I've got